Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Stephanie and Dallas, and I will be discussing the chapter 7, which is all about integrating macro skills in mother tongue lessons. So, before anything else, let us first know the learning outcomes of these chapters. After completing this chapter, the student is expected to create strategies in teaching the macro skills in the mother tongue. So there are two end goals of mother tongue-based multilingual education, which are first, the lifelong learning and communicative competence. With the utilization of this native language, which language is familiar to the learners, these goals appear to be easily achievable. However, some teachers who have been assigned to teach the mother tongue are hesitant to handle the subject because they lack the confidence due to their incompetence in the said language, as well as the dearth of trainings in the use of language. So in teaching the mother tongue, the initial focus from grades 1 to 3 is first the development of literacy and numeracy skills and the learning of concepts about the language, skills, and competence, which will later on be transferred in the learning of the second language, which is the Filipino and English. So as learning progresses, these macro skills, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and viewing spiral across grade levels and across languages. So the ultimate goal is communicative competence in both oral and written discourse in the three languages. So it is in closure number 1 to Diped Order number 31 section series 2012. The following are suggested strategies in teaching different learning areas with the integration of the macro skills. So the first one is listening and speaking strategies. So this category talks about the activities develop the listening and speaking abilities of the learners, as these strengthen phonological and phonemic awareness. So phonological awareness is the ability of the learner to manipulate sounds and words or play with sounds or words. So this skill includes recognizing rhyming, words, blending of words, and syllabication. So on the other hand, phonemic awareness is focused on the ability to hear and identify sounds in particular words. So activities like singing, rhymes, modeling, and presentation of video clips are some ways to illustrate the appropriate adherence of the different letter sounds. So for this, there are localized teacher-made strategies that can familiarize learners to the letter sounds, which they can follow and later on apply in their own context. So these teacher-made audio and video materials can yield positive results because they can highlight the availability of the resources in the locality. And also, guys, the familiarity of the learners with the materials will facilitate their learning of the lesson. So likewise, contextualized storytelling can motivate and sustain the interest of learners in the lesson, since they can relate to the situation. So characters and events in the story authored by the teacher. So to focus attention and further sustain the interest of learners, integration of listening and speaking can be applied in activities that draw out kinesthetic responses. So these require physical and mental alertness from the learners to perform the necessary movement assigned by the teacher as she tells the story. So these responses can be nodding of the head. So clapping, it can be stamping or saying aloud a particular word or phrase. So poetry and rhyme exercises can make learners easily memorize the poem. So they can also associate words they hear with their own vocabulary, which will activate prior knowledge and therefore develop their ability to discriminate letter sounds. So one activity for this strategy is planted words. So these are the examples. So the teacher reads a poem, then the learner follows. So the teacher repeats reading the poem, emphasizing the words whose letter sounds are to be learned. So afterwards, in the said game, so in the said activity, afterwards, the teacher asks the learners to read words found in the classroom. So the challenge for the learner is to identify the words in the classroom that rhyme with the words in the poem. So the total physical response strategy can also be employed where the teacher gives directions with the learners act out. So this activity develops the listening and acting skills of the learners. So the second one is the reading strategy. So reading strategy color-coded reading, so can be employed to assess reading readiness. So the teacher prepares a paragraph where which sentences that are written or highlighted in different colors. So the teacher groups the class and assigns a particular color similar to the colors in the paragraph to identify each group. So for example, the teacher will assign this particular group to a certain color. So that's the example of color-coded reading. Each group is made to read the lines whose color is similar to the color assigned to them. So in this way, learners are focused on their lines as they read. The teacher can simply gauge their difficulty in pronunciation, syllabication, and phrasing. No, so this activity also enhances participation of the learner. So, example of reading strategies are interpretative or dramatic reading. So on the other hand, learners' skill to express themselves orally. So with this, learners are given the chance to speak with proper phrasing, correct pronunciation, correct stress and intonation. This strategy is also effective to non-speakers of the language because as they listen to their classmates deliver their lines, these non-speakers would be swayed and moved by the performance of their classmates. So this can eventually persuade them to learn to speak and enjoy the language. So routine activities indirectly perform a big role in teaching and learning the language. So prayers and greetings. So simply prayers and greetings can improve students' reading strategies, reading abilities. So similar to the reminders and sayings posted on the walls from a part of the routine of learners. So these are regularly read before, during, or before the class ends. So aside from serving an original purpose like reminders which make the learners remember their roles at home, in school, and in the community, or prayers to remind the learners of their faith in God. So this also serves as visual aids and reading corner materials for other learning areas. So for example, in science, words and pictures related to the weather are posted side by side with Ilocano translation. So likewise in math, guys. So numbers and number words and number signs and also number sentences are also pasted on strategic corners. So these facilitate recall and serve as point of reference for words which the learners find difficult to remember or understand. So sa Hikasi Sadkay, there are pictures of the family, community helpers, institutions, and society are also seen on the walls of the classroom. So those visual aids or visual materials can also help to strengthen the reading ability or development of a child or a student. So posters of the parts of the body and measures of maintaining good health care written in the mother tongue are also on the walls for the learners to see and practice their reading skills. So procedures in washing the hands, simply the mga posters like how to properly wash the hands, no, and brushing the teeth are also found on the walls to serve as models in the learners' actual performance of these activities. So basically in this category, you can simply develop a child's reading comprehension or reading development, reading ability by simply making visual aids that are helpful in their development. So the last one is the writing activities. So writing activities are also facilitated with the use of instructional materials. So one of this is the interactive board. I know some of us are familiar with what is interactive board. So this can be utilized in either independent or collaborative learning. So for instance, in spelling, the learners are given each a board. So they write on this the word that they have to spell correctly. So when the word for them to spell is uttered by the teacher, they write their answers and immediately raise the board for the teacher to see. So mo ano siya ang example ka na bitong mag-spelling bee. So that's the example of this kind of activity and under sa writing activities. So as such, the teacher can correct immediately the given answer. So this also maximizes participation because learners are excited to use the writing materials and somehow to show that they have the answer. So instead of um, writing on the board and saying aloud their answers, learners remain on their seats as they utilize the interactive board to respond. So this board can also be used to post flat pictures and other manipulative objects like puzzles, numbers, or answers in math problems. So activities in a writing class can provide effective interaction among learners. So activities like simply writing the alphabet in the air or on the back of seatmates, or illustrating answers or spelling of words with body movements are somehow interesting and fun activities which can elicit the interest of the learners to the lessons as they move around and mingle with another as the class goes on. So for viewing, the teacher develops materials for viewing. So activities like hand or stick puppets and pictures for storytelling. So the big book is also another useful material, guys. So dili lang ninyo siya i-underestimate, but the big book is also an important material in developing a child's writing skills. So within the big book or as separate individual pictures, the teacher can use colorful and attractive pictures to motivate the learners. The use of these materials develops creativity of the learners in oral and written expressions, which can eventually lead to the development of reading comprehension. So, duha ang na-target ni writing, which is the writing skills and also the reading comprehension. The learners are challenged to answer low-level questions like the WH questions, the what, where, when, why, no? So those are the WH questions. So as the class progresses, cognitive skills are trapped with the learners being asked by the teacher to recognize similarities and differences. So cause and effects of relationships, predict and infer outcomes, and identify facts. So towards the end of the lesson, the learners can already share their opinions and formulate their conclusions. So in science, there are also other strategies and materials that can be utilized as a teacher in the class. So to develop the learner's understanding of concepts. So two of these are fishing and farming. So in writing activities, the focus of it is the use of instructional materials. So and also like also sa listening and reading, there are also activities that can contribute to the development of a child's writing skills. So some of these are fishing and farming. So for the fishing activity, the teacher prepares an improvised aquarium filled with the fishes, so artificial fishes. So the learners are made to catch fish with an improvised rod. So some of these fishes contain questions in them. So and the one who is able to catch a fish with a question in it has to give the answer. So I know some of you experience this one, no, sa elementary. So try to conceptualize that there is a certain aquarium in your area, and then you made an artificial fish with random questions. So the one who got the fish with a question must answer that one. So simultaneously with learning important concepts, this activity enables learners to feel the fun, the enjoyment, and experience of catching fish, though it is only contrived. So for the farming also activity, each pupil is given a stick which holds the picture of an animal that is associated with farm life. So the learners then group themselves based on the movement of the particular animal whose picture is on the stick they are holding. So the concept of flying, crawling, or jumping animals is the lesson is to be learned in this activity. So to give you a little summarization or an overview of what is chapter 7 all about. So mother tongue is the first language learned and spoken by the learner. So this is the same language to be used in teaching the primary grades. So this should enable the teacher to teach effectively and efficiently. So but the present state of things has proven otherwise. So while lessons are to be taken from the Deputy Teacher's Guide on MTB-MLE, the teacher must also develop his or her confidence by achieving fluency in the different macro skills. So the macro skills that we are associating with this are those speaking, listening, reading, writing, and viewing. So those are the macro skills. So these are different strategies in the teaching, in teaching the mother tongue. So the suggested approaches in teaching K to 12 can also be considered, but the teacher can develop his or her own strategies based on the types of learners she or he handles. So basically, those macro skills that we are talking about, or that we talked about, which are speaking, listening, reading, and writing, and viewing, contributes a lot to the development of a child's overall aspect domain. So this also help the teachers to easily and effectively, efficiently teach, no, in mother tongue based nga language. So that's it for today. That is the chapter 7. So thank you for listening, everyone.